Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Medium Podcast. I'm Shopia. Today, we're digging into something that keeps people up at night, finding your life purpose. Mono's here with me. Hey, Mono.
Hey, Sophia. Hey, everyone. Really glad to be back. This topic is huge, personal, messy. I'm ready.
Good. We'll take this apart slowly and kindly. Quick note, we're not selling a single aha moment. We're going to unpack a process, real work you can practice. If you're mid-career and you're feeling drained or aimless, this episode is for you.
Yeah, and small warning. I may get emotional. This one landed heavy for me.
Perfect. Let's start where many conversations fail, the cliches. Follow your passion. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Mono, I know you and I both hate that line. Why?
Because it sets up a fantasy. Not everyone has a neat, lifelong passion, right? I mean, I loved comics as a kid. That didn't turn into a career. And even if it had, would it have paid rent at 35? Purpose isn't just passion. It's the why behind your actions. The role you hold, the job title, is a vehicle. It isn't a destination.
Exactly. Purpose is directional. It's the reason you put energy into something. Roles change. Manager, maker, caregiver, teacher. Those are vehicles. Purpose answers for whom, for what, and why. That distinction frees people from the pressure of finding the one true thing.
And that freedom matters because for a lot of listeners, the search feels like failure. You're told to figure it out, and if you don't, you feel like you broke the system.
Let's name that feeling. The reality of being lost, it's not shameful. It's normal. Research and clinical practice show purpose is an evolving process. You can live decades refining it. There's rarely a single aha, and definitely rarely a tidy career ladder that matches your inner map. Mano, tell them a little about your being lost phase after you left consulting.
Sure, I walked away from consulting because it felt hollow, but I didn't instantly land in a new calling. I tried community organizing, I volunteered at a food bank, I taught a workshop that flopped. Literally 3 people showed up. I felt like an amateur, constantly. For a while, I thought I made a mistake. But the truth, and this is key, the experiments were data. They told me what drained me and what sparked me.
That's helpful. Failure as data. That moves us into the next idea, failure as a catalyst. Too often, we treat failure like a final verdict. Instead, it strips away performative desires, what you thought you should want, and reveals your core values. Mono, walk us through one pivot where failure taught you something crucial.
All right, I pitched a community consulting model to a nonprofit. I had slides, buzzwords, the whole thing. They rejected it, harshly. For days, I replayed every moment. Then I sat down and asked, what about that project made me excited when I pictured it? It wasn't the slides. It was seeing neighbors take ownership. The failure clarified that my purpose needed to live in co-creation, not in top-down expertise.
So the failure didn't mean you're bad at everything. It meant here's a sharper lens on what sticks. That should feel relieving, not fatal.
Relieving, yes, but also scary, because it often means starting over. And there's real friction when you leave competence behind and become a beginner again.
Let's talk about that fear, being a beginner. For so many people, the fear of looking stupid or failing is paralyzing. But trying things you're bad at is essential to finding what really resonates. My coaching clients often underestimate the value of being awkward at first.
Totally. I remember the first time I showed up to lead a community circle. I fumbled the discussion, I misread cues, I felt exposed. But, and here's the thing, after the third time, I started to notice some patterns. People stayed longer, one woman said she slept better after our meetings. That small signal kept me going.
That's where the green blob concept comes in. This is a lovely metaphor. The green blob is that messy, ugly first attempt at something new that sparks a tiny joy despite the lack of skill. It might be a doodle, a neighborhood meetup, a half-baked newsletter. It feels awkward and silly, but there's a lightness to it. And that lightness is a clue.
I love that. For me, the green blob was a badly edited video of a neighborhood story. It had jump cuts, I mispronounced names, but I loved making it. Over time, I learned editing, storytelling technique, and the project evolved. The blob became something.
Listeners, I want you to hear this. Look for the green blobs. They're invitations, not commitments. Try something messy. If it sparks small joy or curiosity repeatedly, that's worth pursuing. Not because you'll instantly become world class, but because it's pointing you.
And don't do it alone. Purpose often points outward. There's a role for community and service that gets overlooked in the self-help framing. Purpose grows when it's tethered to others, micro-purpose moments every day.
Yes, micro-purpose moments. Holding the door for someone who's upset, mentoring a colleague for 15 minutes, helping a neighbor set up an online form. Mano, any micro-purpose routines you kept that helped you?
One, every week, I reached out to 2 people in my neighborhood and asked, how's it really going? Not small talk. That simple habit connected me to local needs and made my work relevant. 2, I taught one short free workshop a month. Low stakes, high return. Those moments anchored me.
This is an important antidote to the isolation many feel when defining purpose. But we also need to address external expectations. Family, peers, mentors, who often mean well but push narratives that don't fit you.
Yes. My parents would say, Mono, you were doing so well at consulting. Why give that up? They weren't trying to sabotage me. They were worried about stability. I had to learn how to translate my choices into language they could understand and accept without sacrificing my direction.
Navigating those conversations requires curiosity and boundary work. Ask, what are their fears? What do they value? Then explain yours. Often, it's not about convincing them of a grand vision. It's about creating mutual trust that your choices aren't reckless. That takes time and small demonstrations of care.
And also patience with yourself. The pushback can make you doubt, which brings us to something I think we all need more of: stillness.
Yes, the necessity of stillness. In a world built on distraction, clearing the mental cache is active work. Practices, silence, journaling, prayer, breath work, whatever fits your belief system. We'll do a short guided exercise in a moment. But first, let me name why this matters. Your inner voice gets drowned by notifications, other people's timelines, and the loudest career narratives.
Hear, hear. I found space by cutting social scrolling to 20 minutes a day and adding a 10-minute morning inventory where I ask 2 questions. What energizes me? What drains me? That simple check shifted a ton of choices over months.
Okay, let's do a brief silence exercise. This will be short, about 90 seconds, and it's okay if it feels awkward. You're not required to achieve anything. The point is to notice. Ready?
Ready. Let's go.
Close your eyes if you can. Breathe in and out. Bring to mind one small moment this week when you felt alive, even briefly. Maybe it was a conversation, a song, a walk. Hold that moment without analyzing it. Notice where it sits in your body, the warmth, the tension, the curiosity. We'll sit in silence for 90 seconds. I'm going to count down softly. Silence, 90 seconds. Okay, bring your attention back slowly. Mono?
That was helpful. For me, it was a neighbor thanking me for fixing a community flyer. Small, but unexpectedly satisfying. It reminded me that meaning shows up in small, practical fixes.
Exactly. Stillness doesn't always produce dramatic revelations. Sometimes it only clarifies what you already know in a quiet way. Now, purpose versus identity. This is critical. Don't tie your entire self to one role or project.
Preach. I used to say, I'm a consultant. Then I left and felt unmoored. When you make a role your whole identity, any change or failure feels like an existential collapse. Instead, cultivate multiple self-sources, relationships, hobbies, values, habits. Those act as shock absorbers.
I coach people to adopt what I call a portfolio identity. Not in the investment sense exactly, but in the sense of diversified selfhood. You might be a parent, a community organizer, a weekend gardener, a friend who keeps a book club. These pieces collectively hold meaning. That reduces the pressure on any single role to be everything.
And it also makes you resilient when things change. When a project dies, you still have other compartments feeding you purpose.
Which ties into our next truth. Purpose is commitment, not escape. Some people say, I'm pursuing purpose, so I'll chase every interesting thing. But purpose requires discipline, faithfulness to small, often boring tasks, and choosing meaning over comfort.
Yes, I struggled with this early on. I'd bounce to shiny new ideas instead of seeing a promising project through. Real purpose needed follow-through. Returning to the community circle, even when attendance dipped. Refining a curriculum instead of abandoning it after one critique.
So let's move into concrete, actionable steps. These are small practices to guide the journey. We'll offer them as exercises you can try this week and next month.
Number 1, track your energy. For 7 days, note what activities give you energy and which drain you. Simple morning or end-of-day notes work. Patterns will emerge.
Number 2, create micro-experiments. Try one green blob activity for a month. Low cost, low stakes. Commit to 10 hours. That rule, 10 hours, is generous enough to see whether it matters and small enough to not upend your life.
Number 3, invest in micro-purpose acts. Each week, do 2 small acts of service or connection. A check-in call, a volunteer shift, mentoring a junior colleague. Notice how these acts affect your sense of meaning.
Number 4, bound external pressure. Write a script for the difficult conversation you fear. Practice saying it out loud. You don't have to be defensive. Be clear and curious. I hear you about stability. This is what I'm trying. Can we check in about it in 3 months?
Number 5, schedule silence. 10 minutes twice a day if you can. Use the morning inventory. What energizes? What drains? Add 1 weekly longer silence, 30 minutes to reflect, and protect it like a meeting.
Number 6, build a portfolio identity list. Write 5 roles that matter to you aside from your main job. Put them somewhere visible. When work gets rough, lean on another role to stay anchored.
Number 7, fail intentionally. Plan an experiment that might fail and treat it as data. Afterward, debrief with 3 questions. What surprised me? What drained me? What gave me energy?
And number 8, track micro-purpose moments. Keep a short notes file titled Small Wins and Meaning. Add anything that felt meaningful that day. Over months, you'll see a pattern emerge.
Okay, let's take a longer pause now. I want everyone to do one practical thing. Close your eyes and think of one micro-experiment you could start this week. Imagine taking the first step, scheduling it, sending the first email, spending the first hour. We'll keep silence while you imagine. All right, what did you picture?
I'll start. I pictured hosting a 30-minute lunch conversation with 3 people at my university alumni network about midlife career shifts. Low risk, high curiosity. Mono, what did you imagine?
I imagined knocking on 3 doors in my neighborhood and asking if they'd like to co-host a block cleanup event. Small, practical, Community-centered. That felt doable.
Good. Those are green blob adjacent, small acts that don't need perfection. Before we move into closing reflections, let's address one more sticky point: patience versus urgency. There's a cultural pressure to figure it out now, but people in transition often need both patient exploration and tactical urgency.
Right. Urgency motivates experimentation. Set deadlines, limit time on research, force yourself to act. Patience keeps you from jumping at every novelty. The sweet spot? Commit to a small experiment with a clear time box and measurable signal that tells you whether to continue.
A good time box is 1 to 3 months for a green blob experiment, with a 10-hour rule, as Mano mentioned. Define two metrics: one for energy, do I want to keep doing this? And one for impact, does it help others? If both are positive, keep going. If not, pivot or stop.
Let's give listeners an example. My 30-day experiment: host 5 neighborhood conversations, each 30 minutes. Metric 1. After each conversation, did I feel energized? Metric 2. Did at least one participant express gratitude or next step interest? After 30 days, I reviewed. 2 positives meant I kept it going.
And if the metrics are mixed, you analyze variables: time of day, framing, outreach method. Sometimes small tweaks change everything.
Sophia, can I ask you a question? What do you say to someone who keeps pivoting because they're scared of commitment?
Good question. I say practice fidelity to the smallest thing first. Pick a manageable commitment, weekly 15 minutes of the project, and keep it for 6 weeks. If you bail after day 2, you're avoiding discomfort, not testing the project's viability. Consistent, small investments reveal real patterns.
That's practical and kind of liberating. It means you don't have to bet the farm. You just have to show up reliably.
Before we end, I want to share a short, practical journaling prompt you can use tonight. We'll read it aloud and give a minute of silence for writing. Prompt: when in the last month did I feel most alive? Describe the moment in detail. What were you doing? Who was there? What small need did you meet or see met?
Okay, take a pen. We'll pause for 60 seconds to write.
Mano?
I wrote about helping a teen at the community center format their first resume. It was small, but she left with confidence. That hit me as meaningful because it combined teaching and direct service, and it was practical.
Mine was a walk I took with a friend where we swapped stories about work without advice, just listening. That encounter reminded me that purpose also lives in being present for someone else.
We promised listeners actionable steps. Quick recap: energy tracking, green blob experiments with 10-hour minimum and monthly time box, micro-purpose acts twice weekly, scheduled stillness, portfolio identity list, intentional failure with debriefs, and tracking small wins.
And the heart of it? Purpose is built by small, faithful actions directed outward, informed by honest reflection, and protected by stillness. It isn't an escape from responsibility, it's a commitment to choose meaning over comfort.
If you're in the middle of this, burnt out, uncertain, know this: it's okay that you don't have it all figured out. Your experiments, failures, and tiny acts of care are the scaffolding that builds a purposeful life.
One last micro tool before we go: the 30-30 rule. Spend 30 minutes this week on a green blob experiment and 30 minutes this week in stillness, reflecting on how that activity felt. Simple, measurable, and repeatable.
I like that. Shafia, can I share a closing piece of encouragement? For the listeners, be gentle with yourself. Your identity isn't a straight line. It's a series of loops and detours. Some of the best parts of life arrive on the detours.
Beautiful. Okay, closing reflections. I'll go first. Purpose isn't a destination you arrive at with one suitcase of certainty. It's a practice you nurture. Try, fail, return, serve, listen. Let curiosity be your engine and compassion be your driver.
And I'll add, don't underestimate the power of small public acts. Invite one person to something small. Host one event. Make one phone call. Those micro actions create ripples that guide you.
Thanks for being here, Mono. Thanks to everyone who shared their attention with us. If this episode landed for you, try one small experiment this week. We'll check back in on a future episode to hear how listeners did.
Thanks, Sophia. If anyone wants resources, a simple worksheet for energy tracking, journal prompts, and the green blob checklist, we'll link them in the episode notes. Do one tiny thing, okay?
Okay, final word. You're allowed to evolve. Purpose doesn't demand that you be perfect. It asks that you be present. See you next time.
See you. Bye.